Welcome to Taste Like Tea, a podcast in which I put as little effort in as possible to tell nobody my opinion. My name is Theo. Don't call me Ted. So I'm trying to figure out a schedule, right? Because, as discussed with my last episode, I cannot keep up. And sure, I don't have to have something to say about everything I watch, but hypothetically, I can have something to say about anything I watch. I can pull it, and I don't want to waste time and upload nothing just to upload something, but at the same time, I also feel like I need to get some stuff out of the way before I'm quote unquote caught up. So, don't mind my shuffling. So I could pick up where I left off. This is the day after my last recording, by the way, just to kind of give you a sense of how I'm trying to figure out how to, post and not overwhelm myself with responsibility, but not under record to not utilize the thing I'm using this podcast for, which is to talk about things that I can't necessarily rant at people for with no interruptions. And it's usually hard opinions that technically don't need a reply anyway. So, it's kind of, it makes sense. And the longer I watch a movie a day, the less my partner probably wants to talk to me about movies, considering they are watching increasingly more movies as time goes on, and they probably tire of my opinion, my hard, would I call it a hard opinion? I don't know. It's me. Hi. So how about I open up my phone, right, and we check out, I don't know, Letterboxd, the thing that one of the only two social medias I still use. I also linked my Letterboxd in the description of my last episode. Maybe I'll do that consistently. I don't really know why I would, because it's I guess the same reason I don't post the reviews on my Instagram story the day I post them is kind of hey, you can see what I have. I'll talk about what I watched, but you'll never know exactly what I just watched unless you look at my Letterboxd, because I'm intentionally not posting or talking about things that I just watched. Some stupid personal side quest thing of, I don't know, trying to get followers or whatever the fuck, I don't know. Maybe because I don't have anybody to talk to outwardly, that I think having people listen to me would be better. Even though the song is for me, by me, and to me. You are all just bystanders. So what I could do, and actually let me get back to that scheduling thing of what I'm trying to wonder is maybe, at least for a small amount of time, I can do twice a week, maybe a Monday and a Friday. And, maybe one of those days can be a what I watched, and the other day could be a theme, even though that requires me to put effort in, so I may not do that. So yeah, I could pick up where I left off, and I think that might be what I'm doing, but I think what I really want to do is get to a point where I can pick 4 movies out of the stuff I've watched in the last week. And, the thing is, if I do that, I'm picking all favorites, probably, unless there's something I have super negative to say, maybe I, for some reason, want to talk about, I don't think I've watched anything that bothered me anytime recently. How far back? Adaptation. I can complain about Charlie Kaufman's Adaptation for an hour straight, and no one will agree with me. I will probably not sound educated whatsoever as I talk about it, but I have opinions on it, and a lot of it is kind of negative. I'm not going to get into it though, because that was 14 days ago. That's 2 weeks. That's a whopping 14 days. And who can think back that far? You know, like, how long do opinions last in someone's mind before they just fade into the subconscious, until those opinions are compartmentalized and placed into your psyche? I don't even know what I was talking about. So that goes to show that memory doesn't exist, just like you're probably hearing louder noises than usual. Maybe, probably. I have my window open because, like yesterday, it being cold, it's fucking hot. So I cracked the windows. I'm still in my car, as per usual. It's a thing I do. And I talk to myself now, which is cool, I guess. So I guess, god damn, I'm almost caught up technically. So let's just do that then. Saturday, March 21st, the first day of spring. I don't care about you fuckers who say the first day of spring is the 20th. It's always the 21st. The 20th will always be the last day of a season, and the 21st will always be the first day. That's also how the zodiac is broken up, I believe. I'm pretty sure the 21st is where that separation line is, but that's irrelevant because I don't necessarily think in those terms. But Saturday, the 21st, the first day of spring, the first film I watched was Motel Hell from 1980. And it was kind of a mistake to watch it, I'll admit. I'll admit that it wasn't the best choice because I put something on specifically to kill time while I located a different movie. So I was kind of in the need of a background movie, but I ended up putting on something I've never seen before. Something I own physically, which I think is why I was so eager to put it in, because I owned it for I don't know how long, and I'm just now watching it. But it's a pretty simple story. I mean, it's kind of a Norman Bates meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a sense. That's kind of almost literally it. Other than the fact that they literally copy and paste things that Norman Bates does, like throwing cars into the swamp behind your house and watching women through holes or whatever, and running a motel. There's stuff that are literally ripped right out of Psycho. And there's probably, I might give Psycho too much credit. The world might give Psycho too much credit. You're telling me that sociopath that runs a motel and murders women with a split personality is first done in Psycho? That I feel like that's a little far-fetched. Jesus Christ. A diesel truck drove by, but that was the pickup that was behind it. Fucking douchebags. So there's this motel. It's technically called Motel Hello, but the O flickers, so it's visibly Motel Hell, and it's run by this famous farmer dude, Farmer Vincent Smith. I didn't realize that was his sister. I thought it was his wife, but that makes a lot more sense as to why they aren't sexual. But it makes more questions raised of why they were assuming him not being sexual with his sister meant he had no sex drive. Huh. I never considered that. See, that's the thing, is I put this movie on to not entirely watch it. So there's definitely aspects I've missed. I definitely missed most of the first act. And that kind of puts me at a disadvantage because other than famous smoke meat motel owner man and his sister, and then I think there were a group of characters, but then oh no, that's what it was. Okay, I don't know how, but this couple was riding a motorcycle. I don't know how they got where they decided to go or why they were on a motorcycle. I don't remember that part, but there was a couple on a motorcycle, a guy and the girl riding on back. And they get into a horrible crash that results in the death of the guy, which, spoiler alert, turns out it was not an accidental death. It was, in fact, a murder. It was intentional. And this girl wakes up being told, like, yeah, he's dead. We saved you. Almost in a misery sense. Almost exactly misery. If Paul Sheldon had someone in the passenger seat of his car, it's almost exactly misery for a little while, because, or at least for this plot point, because this girl wakes up in this motel. There's this homely old man and his sister who are just like, don't worry, we saved you, you're alive. You can't see your boyfriend though, because I buried him dead. The police get involved because, you know, dead bodies, and the cop is like, yeah, he's allowed to bury dead bodies. You know, it's a rule in this county. That's a thing that cops say. In this county. She wakes up, she's kind of a hostage, but she's being taken care of. Like, she doesn't know that she's going to be held there forcefully at first. She's kind of just being nurtured and revitalized by these people. The whole first... I don't know, maybe... I think about first half. I think the halfway point is when they start kind of, like, being a little bit more in your face about it. But initially they were kind of just, like, loosely implying, but never confirming that... most of the smoked meats that Farmer Vincent makes are made of human meat, which, you know, it is. That's kind of the whole thing. And it's not like it's that big of a spoiler, because the tagline is literally, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent fritters, which is, they say that in the movie too. It's not just like a stupid rhyme. That's a plot critical sentence. So he intentionally makes his sausages and dried meats by mixing pork and other animals, and primarily humans. Because not only does he kill and harvest humans for their meat, but he also has a little farm of I don't understand the logic in this world, right? So you just kind of have to take it at face value. But he figured out how to plant people into the ground. Like, literally, only their heads are emerged from the ground. And they're kind of just living vegetables. In a reverse sense, because I guess that's what you call someone who is non-responsive, right? Is a vegetable. But this is the reverse, because they're fully responsive. They are alive people to an extent. They're probably delirious and being kept in a bag and not being able to move or talk or anything for who knows how long, an indiscriminate amount of time. But they are treated like root vegetables. The poster is not what I was thinking, actually. There's a different poster I saw on the internet that kind of shows the scene of him harvesting these people, and it's literally just like pulling up carrots. It's funny, but it's also kind of disturbing. So where do I go with this? Because, like, yeah, so there's a girl, she's being taken care of, but she doesn't know she's not allowed to leave, and she doesn't know that he killed her boyfriend, but it's just weird that... So, eventually, I don't know how much time passes, but some major Stockholm Syndrome starts kicking in. And maybe it was her trying to find a way out. Maybe it was like both of them playing each other, but just one got played better than the other. But the girl falls in love with Farmer Vincent, this like 19-year-old girl and this like 60-year-old man. Like it's very much like doesn't make any sense. So much so that Farmer John's brother accuses Vincent of like forcibly doing this to her, which I guess indirectly being Stockholm Syndrome, assuming that's really what's going on. I guess he kind of did indirectly. Well, directly, but not hands-on. So she falls in love with him, and this is where I got confused about the sex thing, because, like, so Farmer John's like, I would love to have sex with you, but I gotta be married to you. And then they do like a midnight wedding, which, sure, whatever. As long as you know a priest, you can kind of just do that, right? And they're married, but then it's like declared that he has no actual sex drive and he can't get a hard-on, so it was almost pointless for him to have dragged her along to get married for no reason, just so that they couldn't have sex successfully. And then Farmer Vincent puts on a pig mask and wields a chainsaw and starts killing people. Kind of. Does he ever actually successfully kill someone? He kind of gets like crunched up with there's some decent special effects towards the end. It was fine. It was a totally okay movie. I didn't like it. Okay, I liked it. I thought it was like chuckle worthy, and I thought it was a decently unique, film design. Like, even though it's a mixture of two things, it's almost feels original. I gave it a 3 out of 5, a 6 out of 10. I appreciated it. I probably would have rated it higher if I watched the entire thing and was able to know for sure if any of my questions had been answered or if it was just negligence of the film being made. So that's Motel Hell. I was only putting that on, like I said, to set up and locate a couple other movies, because I really wanted to do a double feature of John Waters. Not John Waters exclusively, that's a bad way to word it. The film after this John Waters film, I've seen compared to John Waters. So, as an attempt to kind of, have a little bit of extra fun, I decided to double feature it with a John Waters film. A, to watch another John Waters film, and B, to get into the mentality of it, because I thought that it would work, and it did, to be honest. I mean, I don't see as many connections as some people might have, like to come out of that movie and go, oh yeah, that's a fucking John Waters in the Outback kind of movie, but enough to where I see how it could have been drawn. Anyway, that's the next movie. I watched Multiple Maniacs from 1970. I don't know anything about John Waters, except that he's a gay man, has a funny mustache, and he smokes cigarettes. That's probably the vast knowledge of him that I know. And I've come to appreciate him more recently. He's a silly fella, and I really like his humor. I don't necessarily... No, I like his humor. It's good. So I watched Multiple Maniacs, and I can't imagine being able to get too much out of this one, to be honest, but I'm gonna... So Divine, right? Divine is a person. That's the name of a person. It's not just an adjective or a noun. I think you can use divine as a noun other than as the name. But Divine is a drag queen who John Waters loves to make films about, or for. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's at least 2 films that are basically for, about, and exclusively to look at Divine. 3, because it looks like his first film, Mondo Trasho, also has her in it. Actually, Female Trouble probably has her as well. Yeah, so Divine is like a John Waters classic character. And I watched Pink Flamingos recently. That's kind of my introduction to his wild side, because prior to that I've only seen Crybaby, and Crybaby is kind of just a slightly hornier. I compared it to Grease. I think I actually talked about that. I ranted about it. Yeah, I remember that. That means I talked about Pink Flamingos too, and that there was like a penis and stuff. Yeah. So I watched those films, and I wanted to watch this next Australian film. I don't know why I'm looping all the way back to that again. Divine is a drag queen, John Waters movies, multiple Maniacs. It came out before Pink Flamingos, and although guaranteed to not be canonical to Pink Flamingos, I think it's funny to think about this film as almost Divine building up to be her character in Pink Flamingos. Just the way it, like you need to spread your filth across state lines as a traveling carny before you can run for president. It's such a ridiculous sentence, but that's kind of the plot right there. What I just said, it's Divine and a bunch of sexually, I don't want to say depraved, because they really aren't. The whole point is that people look at them as if they're depraved, but they're really just people. Like, that's kind of the point of at least the first half with the carny stuff, or the traveling show. But she runs a traveling show where a man announces, like, you will see the most grotesque X-rated whatever the fuck. I bet a million reviews quoted it, actually. Yes, folks, this isn't any cheap X-rated movie or any fifth-rate porno play. This is the show you want. And it's just like a guy shouting about how you're going to see the most depraved sexual acts possible, uncensored and unrelentingly in your face. And then it's just a scene of, going through all the different quote-unquote freaks, and these quote-unquote plain people, these normies, are looking at him going, oh my god, that's disgusting. I can't believe, and they're all just like writhing in disgust and being so judgmental. And they're like, thank goodness we were let in for free, because I definitely wouldn't have paid to look at this. And it's just, it's probably just to show. It's probably just like a heavy-handed way of being like, hey, this is everything that you want to think about right now. But it goes on for a few minutes. Some interesting things happen. I can't really remember all of them, but they weren't as weird as Pink Flamingos. There were no butthole flexings. There were no actual penetrations. I actually don't even think I saw a penis, which I'm told is a thing you expect in a John Waters film. So, that's cool. But so the show goes on, they're being insulted, and then they're like, and now for the final show, and they introduce Divine. And Divine comes out basically with no hesitation, just robs the crowd at gunpoint. And that's kind of it. Like, that's not it. That's the situation that they start in. Like, that's what they do. They go town to town. They lure a bunch of people in. Did they? I think they killed at least a couple of them, if not all of them. But, like, they're willing to kill for loot and money. And then they move on to the next town. But then this plot of this movie it's so minuscule. Because when I read the description about, them being a traveling freak show, I thought it was going to be a lot of, like, going from town to town and, creating ruses against people. But it's actually way more microscopic, if that's a way to look at it. It's, instead of it being like days and weeks passing between like shows, it's kind of just like during a stop. After they finish their robbery, they're like, all right, good shit, we're done. We got our food money, we got our money. And then they kind of just go and fuck around for a little bit. And I don't know why. Maybe they were saying it's their last show and they were dispersing after it or something. But Divine is dating one of the guys in this freak show. And the whole plot is that this guy that's dating Divine is cheating on her. And they hate Divine so much that they want to kill her. And Divine is so up in arms about anything that she has a strong opinion on, especially something that directly attacks her. And, says killing them is the easiest option. It's the most logical. It fixes the most problems at once. Let's kill them. So these two people are out to kill each other, but they're dating and secretly plotting against each other and pretending that they don't know that the other is plotting against them. Kind of interesting. Now that I'm like saying it out loud, it's a lot less nothing than I think I felt like it was at first. And I'm not saying it's nothing in the sense of like it's not worth watching, as much as it's one of those movies where less happens and it's more about the world you're in. But that's not true, because all this stuff I'm saying is plot critical and heavily like spoken about. The film isn't very long. It's 90 minutes. It's longer than, Ralph Bakshi's animations, I guess, except for Lord of the Rings, but it's not like I'm looking at a 150-minute movie or anything like that. This is a flat 90 minutes. So it's 97, but those opening and closing credits are hand-spun crawls, which I think is very nice, but they take a while. So the things I just described, with the cheating on Divine and Divine finding out and both of them plotting against each other, that's the whole movie. It's a lot of that, with just a bunch of filth spread in between. And I use the word filth specifically because that is what Divine gets tagged as in Pink Flamingos. And as I said, my headcanon is that this film is kind of a prequel to that film. Even though it has the same actors being reused for completely different characters. But that's exactly why it's not actually canonical. It's just what I like to think. So they confront each other, they meet each other up again or something. They keep looking for each other and they find each other. What's his name? Mr. David? Yeah. Which I thought that was John Waters at first, because he has a similar kind of like voice inflection, but it's not. It's a guy named David Lucari. And he was funny. I liked him. I liked him a lot. I'm excited to see him in other things. But like I said, I thought it was John Waters because of just how he spoke. They have a similar inflection. They meet up with each other. They have a fight. I think there was like a party at Divine's house, and it resulted in Divine killing everyone, right? I'm pretty sure she like just murders everyone in the house. And then she goes to bed, which I thought was amazing. It was so funny to just, I'm not going to get rid of these dead bodies. I'm just going to go to bed. And then she wakes up the next day, goes out into that same living room with the same dead bodies in the same spot she left them, pushes the one that's on the couch off the couch, and then just lays down on the couch like there's not a bunch of dead bodies in the room. And I thought that was just fantastic. That was probably the funniest thing that happened in that movie. Not the most outrageous, though. Because, and I can't explain this, I genuinely have no idea how anyone could explain it. Maybe it was in the dialogue and I missed it. But right at the end, Divine gets murdered by a giant lobster. And it comes out of nowhere. And then the movie's over, I think. Something may have happened, but I was just flabbergasted by that. Because the whole movie is wacky and it's super weird, and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of what I expect more John Waters films to be like, as long as they're not going into the X-rated territory that Pink Flamingos does. This is kind of where I expected it to be. But I didn't expect a giant man-eating lobster. I don't know how to explain it. It spawns in the room, too, because it's not even like it walks in through the front door. It shows up in her living room. It's just outrageous. It's crazy. I gave it a 4 out of 5, an 8 out of 10. It's good. It's really good. I didn't think it was like... I could guarantee my partner would have hated it, because it's a lot of one-shot dialogues that are so meticulously spoken, but borderline unanimated. They're kind of just people standing next to each other saying long-winded, very well-spoken things at these people, but it's just not as visually stimulating as I'd expect some people to think. Yeah. So, that's Multiple Maniacs. I think I might have gone a little too heavy on it, but I don't care. I put in the description that I spoil these movies with varying degrees. And, you press play with the risk of either knowing the entire plot or me completely glossing over it and barely even displaying my opinion. Because I'm pretty sure that's what I did with The Devil Wears Prada. I don't remember actually saying any actual opinions about it. I just kind of observed a couple things and moved on. So moving on is the movie probably my highlight of this weekend. Welcome to Woop Woop. 1997. Holy shit, this is such a cool movie. It's so dumb and ridiculous, and it's probably way more Australian than I think it is, because it's an Australian film that the first thing it does is make fun of America, and it's so outrageous. So let's see if I can build it up the way I kind of have been with a couple people. I've told a few people about this movie already, because I couldn't not tell people about it. It's on Tubi, according to Melissa. And it should be watched because it's so fucking crazy. So, Welcome to Woop Woop follows a fella with a really big head of hair. His character's name is Teddy, played by Jonathan Shake. Presumably Australian? No, he's American. Okay. Never heard of him. Oh, he was in the Prom Night remake. Okay. And A Different Hush, Day of the Dead. Bunch of shit. I've never seen any of these movies. Except Welcome to Woop Woop. Oh, he's in Roadhouse 2. Maybe I should watch that. It looks so bad. I'm totally watch listing that. That's crazy. So Welcome to Woop Woop starts off with this Teddy guy. He's a grimy asshole from New York City. He's in a back alley. He's wearing a leather jacket, I think, and he's selling Australian native birds out of the back of a truck. He's in the middle of trying to sell it to some woman. I think it's a woman. He's trying to sell a bird. He doesn't successfully sell a bird. Then this kid walks up to him. He's like, "Hey, it's Christmas. Oh, by the way, it's a Christmas movie. Just, remember that. It's a Christmas movie." I may forget that while talking about it, but it is. There's 2 Christmases that happen. It's 2 separate Christmases that happen. So it's Christmas, and this kid's like, "You should probably let those birds go. Like, it's Christmas, man. Like, you shouldn't be holding birds hostage." I don't know what Christmas has to do with having birds in a cage, but that's the only logic he gave the kid, was like, "Hey, it's Christmas. You should not be entrapping birds and selling them for profit." Whatever, man. So this kid, while Teddy isn't looking and failing to sell a bird, this kid lets all the birds go. He opens up the cage and he lets the birds fly away. And they leave. They are Australian birds, so he thinks logically. He goes, "Oh, they're gonna go back home to Australia. I'm gonna follow them, and I'm just gonna recapture them so I can resell them." That's how he gets to Australia. But before he leaves, and before that opening scene is over, this is like the opening credit sequence, essentially. It's the pre-credit sequence, and then transitions into the credit sequence at the end of this. But these birds are flying off, and this is America in 1997, portrayed by Australians. So everybody on the street looks up and sees these birds, and what do? They all pull out a fucking gun and start shooting at the birds. And not just like a couple of shots, they're relentlessly just pulling the trigger. Shoot. Not like barely aiming, just like they see something to shoot and they shoot it. And it's not like, I wouldn't be surprised if a child in that scene busted out a gun. If there was a baby in a parasol or whatever. Is that what those are called? Like a baby carriage, and you just see a gun point out of it. Like, it's that absurd. But it's so fucking funny. And it's the only thing I could truly say is, like, guaranteed accurate commentary. And by accurate commentary, I mean, like, I know that is a joke of Australians making fun of America, because I could identify the American culture that's being made fun of. The reason I'm saying all of it like this is because this is an Australian film. Everything from here on out is outrageously Australian. There's slang I can intuit but can't explain. There are just like character types that I can't fully explain, simply because of how deeply ingrained into Australia they are and how deeply uneducated I am in Australians. I've seen, 4. I mean, if you count all the Mad Max films, I've seen like 6. Yeah, so not many Australian films in my backlog, but Teddy pulls up to Australia. He meets a few people. Only one of them matters, but he like runs into a group of people, and I can't remember if he rented a van or if he tricked them into giving him the van, but he ends up with a van. And only right before he takes the van, one of the girls in the group is like, hey, you know, some meaningless flirting from a 90s comedy. And then it's a good, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of like a sex montage of like just showing this rapid succession of, or progression of this relationship develop. Because like they just meet and then like they're just having like outrageously comical, over the top sex. She keeps saying "sock it to me," which when I first hear the word "sock it to me," that usually means punch me in the face. But it's what she's, and maybe it's an Australian like term, but she's using it like, let's have sex and you better give it to me fucking hard. And that's this girl is just so ruthless with how explicit she can get. At some point she says like, split my meat curtains, as another like euphemism, and then it cuts to curtains with beef like steaks on them and it being part. And so yeah, there's like a good 15 minutes of just like sex and comedy, and probably something to do with they like get a flat tire, and you know, he's notoriously a liar, you know, being the scumbag that was selling birds out of the back of a truck in New York City on Christmas Day. He's notoriously just a shitty person, but he lies to this girl so that he can keep sleeping with her. He's like, yeah, I'll take you home, whatever. I'll show you the beach and we can have more sex and it'll be fun. And, you know, still in comedy mode, super explicit. Pretty sure I saw a penis in this movie, right? No, I didn't. I almost did. Very, very close to seeing one, but I didn't. It was Motel Hell that I saw a penis in. That was the same day I watched this, so it kind of, you know. But, so he takes her to the ocean. She's like, I've never seen the ocean. He's like, that's fucking weird. Let's take you home now. And he takes her home, brings her back to a town called Woop. It's like a town inside a crater in the middle of the desert. And then while he's there, it's just a bunch of partying Australians. I'm pretty sure there's not a... No, I'm mixing it up. That's Wake and Fright. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I don't see a single liquid that isn't beer. Actually, no, I'm lying. I'm pretty sure this film also does that. I'm pretty sure the only thing they drink in Woop is beer. To the point where even, like, pregnant women are smoking and drinking because it's just so... Like, it's just all they got. It's just what they do. They drink. They drink and smoke cigarettes, and that's what this town does, besides have fun. Whoa. And by have fun, I mean, like... So, this is where things get weird, because... Immediately, Teddy's welcomed as, like, you know, like, hey, you got my daughter home, but you might be a scumbag for fucking my daughter. You know, because the chief of the town is this girl's father. And he doesn't want no unfaithful, lying, piece of shit scumbags being the ones to sock it to her, as he probably also said, talking about his daughter. And then Teddy gets told that anyone, and I'm paraphrasing with this because I'm pretty sure it was like a whole ass monologue where he was like laying down rules and stuff, but once you enter Woop Woop, there is no leaving. You're not allowed to leave Woop Woop once you show up. And that's why this girl, what the hell is her name? Angie. That's why Angie was a virgin when he met her. And actually, they had a conversation where they fought over, like, why didn't you tell me you were a virgin? And she's like, because you wouldn't have had sex with me. A very generic virgin adult conversation. Yeah, and it kind of, she explains that basically everyone who lives in town is related to her. There's only like 50 people in the town, which, you know, it makes more sense why no one's allowed to leave. No, it doesn't make sense, actually. It doesn't make it. But yeah, everyone in town is related to each other, so they're not allowed to have sex. And then additionally, they also aren't allowed to leave, so they can't go out and find sex. I think, but that's kind of what Angie was doing, because she was just out chilling, and then maybe the other guys were part of the town and they just got like killed or something. I don't know, but I described it, and how about we take it to the tagline of the film: "The hills are alive." I think that kind of does it. That kind of perfectly encapsulates what I'm going to try and say, and that this is like a comical suburban take on The Hills Have Eyes. It's in the middle of the desert. There are these people who are all borderline incestuous, because how the hell do they maintain population if, you know, they're all related? But you got this group of people in the middle of the desert who don't let you leave, and they are kind of communist, because I think he says when he shows up, he's like, you don't have any personal items here. Like, everyone, you don't have any private property, might be what he said. So he's not allowed to leave, he's not allowed to own anything. Yeah, so maybe, like, if you imagine, like, the suburban town from Edward Scissorhands, but everybody had a gun, and they would yell at you if you didn't drink with them. That kind of sums it up pretty well. I think if you can pick up on all those vibes and the direct reference of Edward Scissorhands, that kind of nails it. That's what this town is. It's this happy-go-lucky, like, acts like a suburban neighborhood, but is kind of a Fallout 3 village made out of scrap metal, and has this totalitarian rule over it of, if you try and leave, you get killed. That's the, we had a fire alarm at work today, or a fire drill, and I think they're testing the alarm. So that's annoying, you know. Australian, yeah. Where do I go from there? I mean, they're not allowed to leave. It's kind of a suburbia, happy-go-lucky town. They're kind of like Whoville is another one, if you've never seen Edward Scissorhands. Very Whoville. And, you know, Teddy at first hates it, right? He's never fully happy, because he doesn't like the idea of being forcibly kept. especially since he only like happened upon them and didn't want to be there. He kind of just did it for sex, and even then it was a lie. But he never fully loves it there. He gets settled in, people like him, he earns people's trust. He learns to trust the people there. But it's that looming threat that, like, if you accidentally step too far out of line, you will be shot. But, you know, be happy about it. And it's probably just seen as like a basic comedy, but that looming threat of being killed, it's kind of like how, and this is probably the second episode I'm bringing up Kids in, even though I haven't watched it yet, but how someone described the plot of Kids as being, without the AIDS, that's kind of just a character study of punk-ass kids from the 90s. But with the AIDS, it's a full-on horror story about, well, AIDS in like the fullest extent. And that's the AIDS and people having a gun are equivalent here, is kind of what I'm getting at. Is maybe not them having a gun specifically, but the rule of not being allowed to leave is the equivalent, because it's just looming there. It sits there, you know about it, you can't change it, and you can only observe or participate, but never leave. Spoiler alert, he does eventually leave. It's kind of like the whole second half of the film is them kind of loosely plotting how to figure it out, slowly piecing together things. Like I said, there's 2 Christmases that happens. Like an entire year passes while he's in Woop Woop. So it's just seeing it's slowly noticing the signs of like how to escape, where people escape to, who doesn't want to escape, you know, who do you have to distract, what do you have to escape with. And it's not ever like excessively spoken about, but the way you see things and the way things are looked at by Teddy, you can kind of tell that that's what he's doing. I just remembered there's a post-credit scene that just is so fucking dumb. It's a good movie. It needs to be watched. You should watch it. Out of anything I talk about between this episode and the last 2 episodes, Welcome to Woop Woop should be on the top of your list, and that's including Alien. You could see Alien anytime. Everyone's seen Alien. I've already spoiled it for you in more detail, I think, than Welcome to Woop Woop, especially since I'm not telling you about the main thing I could connect it to John Waters with, and it has very much to do with the last few minutes of both films. So yeah, if you want to take any recommendation, it's watch Welcome to Woop Woop. That's W-O-O-P, not W-H-O-O-P. It's W-O-O-P. Welcome to Woop Woop. I really wish I could have given it a 5-star review. I gave it a 4, an 8 out of 10. Simply because leading up to the final act was a little bit strenuous. I looked away a bit. I wasn't fully invested for a good 15-20 minutes of the film. And there might be stuff in there that people would love, but I found it, I guess, to be a little exhausting. Kind of like a get to the point kind of thing. But other than that, fantastic watch. Absolutely amazing. And, you know, other than like 2 years ago, I barely knew about international movies at all, and that's kind of my own fault, because I did in fact stay like ignorant to foreign language films for a while. But like, I also just was never exposed to it, is a thing. Because, like, prior to listening to, and the Australian guy that I will always reference talking about the movies I know is going to be Dave from the Show Me Something Wrong podcast. Because without that show, I wouldn't know what to look for in international cinema. I would be looking at, like, the BBC hits going, like, this is it. And like, I probably wouldn't have even gotten to Play for Today, because that's, like, I don't even know how I would have come across that without. I mean, that was more a different podcast, but still. My ignorance of international cinema is the only reason I never was able to appreciate it. So, and that's why I would love to do an episode on Australian cinema, because just the few that I've watched have blown me away. And in ways that Mad Max doesn't. You know, and Mad Max is a phenomenal piece of work, but it is not the only thing to come out of Australia. And the white kid from New Jersey that's never left it. Oh, I've been to Colorado, all right? I've left the East Coast for a week. And I'm here to say that you need to watch some Australian movies. I will stress other ones in the future, but right now, Welcome to Woop Woop is top of the list. Not of everything I've spoken about. You know, Alien is still a better movie, but Welcome to Woop Woop is, I don't know, it's good. It's fucking good. Sorry, I spent way too much time on that. But the film is mental. It's absolutely mental. Later that day, I watched The Cat in the Hat. A personal favorite of mine. Cat in the Hat 2003 with Mike Myers. Also one of the best movies ever made. I watch a lot of the best movies ever made, believe it or not. I have a taste that allows me to say stuff like that, because in my mind, The Cat in the Hat is one of the greatest movies ever made. And the top review on Letterboxd is probably the best way to explain that. And I'm not going to read it because it's like a 10-page essay. Oh, it's not the top anymore. EM. It's got the Phantom of the... I don't remember what that's called. Phantom of the something. It's got the owl mask as the profile picture. It's pretty long. It's a long piece of work. Oh, he even posted screenshots in an Imager link to show the screenshots he's looking at. Yeah, that review is the peak of like, one, just reviews on Letterboxd. That EM Lee's amazing. All of his reviews are fantastic, but his breakdown of The Cat in the Hat is so profound, it made me relook at the film prior to already of watching it 300 times, because I grew up on it, and I still have my same original DVD, and I can, borderline quote anything from it with no effort. But it got me to appreciate it in a filmmaking standpoint, because it wasn't just the funniest shit ever made. It wasn't just the weirdest shit ever made. It was one of the most interestingly made films. And I won't be able to explain any of that, because I didn't go to film school. I barely know what a transition to a cut is, Like, I know what a fade is, but, like, isn't a cut technically a transition? I don't know. But that doesn't matter, because The Cat in the Hat is one of the greatest movies ever made. And it was before D&D. I was going out to D&D that night. I'm still on Saturday the 21st, so this is my fourth movie that I watched on Saturday the 24th. And I watched it with the commentary with Alec Baldwin and Bo Welsh, who is the director of The Cat in the Hat. And not only was I able to pick up on a lot of the details that E.M. Lee's review breaks down, but it got me to actually, like, instead of just appreciate the film, but appreciate Bo Welch as a person. Because he is so meticulous. I mean, even just look at his director credits. Look at Bo Welch. Look at the movies he's directed. And tell me that doesn't scream perfectionist. I don't know, you know? But, like, Bo Welch was talking about these things, and granted, Alec Baldwin's the funny one, and they were kind of jib-jabbing, and he would cut him off occasionally and stuff, but Bo Welch would be watching his own movie, and he'll say something like, oh, I made Alec do that move countless times because I wanted that shoe, his white shoe, to be specifically in this part of the frame, and I couldn't get it. He didn't say it in those words, but that's basically what he described. And I mean, that's just one thing. And he talked about, like, how he made Alec Baldwin, like, run laps while he's like running laps, but like to and from his car to his house and like to the motorcycle and stuff. But he cut all that stuff out. Like, he did all this meticulous movements. And he actually explains why. He explains it not in your face, but like by telling Alec Baldwin why he took so many takes. He inadvertently explained why he did it. And because Alec Baldwin was like, you made me run up those stairs a bunch of times. I'd say like 35 takes. And you cut the whole thing out. And he goes, yeah. But look at how you run up those steps. In the milliseconds I did put you on screen. It goes with the rhythm of the music. Music that at that moment when he filmed it didn't exist. Or, well, I mean, it wasn't, put to film yet. Like, he wasn't going, all right, Alec, I need you to walk in a certain rhythm to match music. He was directing Alec Baldwin. And presumably in his head, keeping a specific rhythm that he needed to match. And he was able to match it perfectly. And that's, in post you can make it perfect, because you could just line up the music and edit it to be perfect. But it's the fact that he thought of it before it even existed. And that's the kind of, like, specifics that I'm talking about. Like, even him saying that red, white, and black is only used to show things that are related to the cat. All the costume design and set design is specifically made to have the cat and the hat be the only thing that has black and red on them. And then, just as a quick little thing, I'm probably not going to talk about the Cat in the Hat for much longer, but I do want to bring up one last thing about it. It's the party scene under the town. So this commentary track I listened to is very much not specifically like talking to kids. Like if a Pixar movie has a commentary, I'm assuming that it's mostly just guys, like these people talking as if kids are watching. But Bo Welch and Alec Baldwin just watch the movie and they talk like human beings to each other. They don't censor each other. Not that they curse heavily or anything like that, but when that underground party scene came up, they were talking about like how jarring it is in the movie, because it is. It's exposing a literal underground, like, just grime. It's not one specific thing. It's just like, I'm going back to, John Waters, but like this underlying filth that goes under the city that's accessible to anybody who knows that it's there. It's hidden from sight, but not locked away. So, yeah, they're talking about how jarring it is, and they're like, it's just a complete change of everything. Down to the fact that things that have nothing to do with the Cat in the Hat are also red and black in there. Like it breaks every rule that the movie silently sets out to establish. But then Paris Hilton shows up. And I'm a Paris Hilton fan in the loosest sense possible. I like Repo the Genetic Opera. I like how much she contributed to Repo the Genetic Opera. And I appreciate her sense of humor for her public presence. So she shows up in the movie. She has like 3 seconds on screen, right? It's the cat looking at her going, oh, and yeah, and then her just like seductively staring at him while the kids pull him away, going, cat. Don't mind that. And then Bo Welsh says, Paris Hilton. This film came out right around the time that her other film came out. And, he's like, we didn't plan it that way, but her other film released right around, right before this one did. And just to hear them, it didn't even get lingered on. I don't even think Alec Baldwin laughed. I think Bo Welsh just like slipped it in there as a comment. And I was kind of awestruck by it because it's just like, yeah, Paris Hilton had a sex tape out the same year that The Cat in the Hat came out, or right around when The Cat in the Hat came out. I'm not checking, but it's definitely around that time. And it was just so funny for him to acknowledge it like that. And I appreciate him for all the words that he said on that commentary. Although a little annoying in the beginning because Alec Baldwin does cut off Bo Welsh a few times, and I take it kind of as an ego thing. But he also has 5 brothers, and that's just how you have to talk when you're in a room full of dudes that will tell you to shut the fuck up at any moment. You just have to speak over them. So, it's part of Alec Baldwin, but it's kind of a douchey thing that he did. Sorry, last thing on The Cat in the Hat. Alec Baldwin used his experience. He said that he used his experience of having 5 brothers to conjure pettiness towards Conrad in the movie, because the whole thing is he's trying to send him away. He doesn't like Conrad. And Alec Baldwin was like, I talk to him the way I talk to my brothers. And I think that's just really fun because, one, I always kind of forget that Alec Baldwin has so many fucking brothers, and that they're all so close in age, and that they're just like the most Irish family ever. And maybe it's because they make fun of it in 30 Rock too, that I think it's just such a caricature of him that I can't directly associate it with him as a human being, but it's true, and it's just a really fun thing that he threw in there. And I'll look at it now and be like, that's how he mocked his brother. Good stuff, Cat in the Hat. Great commentary. One of the best commentaries I've ever seen. If you want a good commentary that is not just a dude pointing out cast members and, not contributing much. This was informative, both in the filmmaking aspect, both in learning Alec Baldwin and Bo Welsh as human beings, and it was entertaining, and it was insightful. I think I said insightful. Anyway, Cat in the Hat's good. Total Recall. God damn it. I probably shouldn't have even logged Total Recall. That's always a thing with, background movies for me, because, like I said, I watched Cat in the Hat right before going to D&D. And Total Recall is a movie we watched while we were at D&D. And the thing is so I've seen it before. I know the general idea of it. Total Recall. I don't know it very well, though. And, like, I can get by enough to play, like, yeah, I've seen it, you know? Like, when Arnold does the thing, like, I can play along for a little bit. But I don't know it very well. And I think that's gonna, be a way to not linger on it for too long. Because, I don't have much to say about it because I don't know much about it. But it's an action movie, There's that weird chest baby thing that talks. It's a little slimy looking. It's actually more crusty looking, but yeah, the twist at the end is fun. Literally, like, I have very little to say about this because, like, I barely watched it. We were playing D&D, and same reason Motel Hell falls a little short on, like, things I can actually talk about is, like, I watched it even less than Motel Hell. It was a background movie. And, it's funny. One thing I could definitely say is that of all action movies, Total Recall has some of the best one-liners. We were just loving them. They were belting them out like crazy too. They were relentless with it. It was great. The action was decent. Look at this. I'm speaking so generally, and I think that's really the best I can do about it. But background movie, it happened. We were playing D&D. I can tell you more about D&D if you want. This is Tastes Like Tea. I do talk about me. I am me, and you listen to me talk about me on a podcast about me. Me. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Yeah, cool stuff. We were actually, right after that movie, Ultraman came on. And I was trying to watch more Ultraman, but the night ended by the time that, like, it would have gotten actually into the movie. So, like, that's a shame. I kind of want to watch more Ultraman because of how redonk that was. So the 22nd, that's Sunday, right? Yeah. All right, we're at the end. We're technically at the end because after this, okay, I have 2 more movies. But then the week is over. I'm caught up. Then I can wait until next week and record for the first half of that week. This could work, right? This could be a good schedule. I need to come up with better episode names than what I watched, though, because I always do that with my content. If you look at my YouTube, I don't care. I'll do game title, chapter name, date it was recorded. Like, that's how I do my YouTube too. It's very cataloged. It's not organized because it's not like I have a perfect playlist for everything and I know where to find everything. I'm not organized, but I am particular and would rather something be consistent than me put an effort to try and make a consistent different thing every time. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll come up with, I'll pull a sentence from every podcast I do and make that the title, kind of like how a movie is, Like Get Shorty. Like, what if we call the movie Get Shorty? And that's the name of the movie. Anyway, I watched Aliens. And I might not be able to get through a lot of this because I kind of have a lot to say about Aliens. Kind of. So, I'm a huge Alien fan. I've declared that Alien is one of the best movies ever made. I love it very, very much. I've seen it many, many times. The rest of the series, I'm way less versed in. And I kind of only hold a grudge against Aliens, but maybe it's the entire quadrilogy, you know, the first four, like the first three sequels, maybe. But I don't like Aliens because I don't like the shift from horror to action. And that's kind of it. There's not much deeper I can go. I can expand on that, but I can't go deeper because that's really all it is I don't think Aliens need to be actiony. I describe in my review that everything that this film does to be an action movie and be fun and swap out horror for tense action those are all things I like in video games. And it actually reflects pretty well in the video games I play because I had a horrible time playing, was it Alien Covenant? The stealth horror survival game. I never finished it. It was way too frustrating because I can't think that well. I don't know. Maybe if I played the game more, and this goes for like any stealth game, I don't think I've ever finished Outlast or any of those like run and hide kind of games. I own every Amnesia game, but I've never beaten any of them. Where am I going with this? Horror games. I like alien action games. Like as shitty as it sounds, because it is objectively a bad game, Aliens Colonial Marine was a better experience than Aliens the movie. Because at least in a video game, those things are things I'm looking for. I'm not necessarily like, and I think it's kind of shitty the way I'm talking about this. I'm like downplaying action in general. When I do like action movies, like I'm working through Michael Bay right now, and once I get through the Transformers movies, I get to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson barely wear a shirt again. And I hear it's kind of really, it's gonna be a weird time, man. I'm out of the good era of Michael Bay, seemingly, and I'm in the DreamWorks era. But it's not like I don't like action. It's that I don't like action with my aliens. And it's a very particular thing because Alien 1 hits so specifically for me. And I think I talked about it when I talked about Alien 1. I saw it more about the question of like the objectivity of technology choosing knowledge over the value of life. Life was expendable in the face of knowledge. That's my big takeaway from Alien. And that persists through. Like in Aliens, there is that scientist that's like, no, don't kill the mother. We gotta save the mother so that we can study it. And then him literally planning on infecting a child just in hopes that he can get her past the fucking... Anyway. Where's it going? Yeah, I like aliens to be scary. I don't like them to be target practice. The best scene in Aliens is the scariest scene. Because it's them backing up into a room low on ammo at a spot where the only thing they can do is hope that it comes through that door in front of them. And they have their heartbeat sensor on, and the guy's counting down the distance, and he's counting down by meters, one after another, going 9, 8, 7, and counting down to the point where Ripley goes... He's like, they're 2 meters away, and she goes, that's impossible. That's in the room. And that's scary. That's fucking like, cause you as an Alien fan, as a watcher, as a viewer, you know they're not coming through that fucking door, and they just haven't figured that out yet, and they wait too long. So then they peek their head into the drop ceiling, as they probably should have done to begin with. Realistically, they should have had a guy stationed there from the get. And there's just that wave. It's just a wall of aliens clawing towards the camera. And it's illuminated by a single beam of a flashlight. Like, it's top tier horror. It's amazing. And none of the movie is like that, other than that part. The characters are all fucking dude bro Marines. Like, they don't even have the character that, like, Full Metal Jacket's characters had. Like, they were all just meatheads with bad teeth, and, you know, I don't think they actually did have bad teeth, but I see them as, like, toothless jocks. Like, that's basically all they were. They were meatheads that clunked skulls together, and then there was also a woman that was on the team, but she was basically just one of the guys, but with a vagina. So, like, it didn't change much, except for that occasionally they can make a vagina joke at her. She was still equally as dumb. Like, her being a woman on the team made no difference, other than the fact that she was just as dumb as the boys. And maybe that was the feminist thing, was like, you know, here's a dumbass masculine character that is also a woman, I guess. It's 1986, you know, women barely exist still. I mean, I won't go into that. I obviously don't actually believe that, but I won't go into why I say shit like that. So it's all action. I didn't say it in my review, and it's kind of counterproductive to say it, but I think that the whole first act, the whole first half, honestly, I think you don't even see an alien until like 56 minutes in or something like that. But the beginning, and like I said, it's going to be counterproductive to say it, because this is something I'm going to mention, a license that existed way before Alien did, that probably copied Alien to begin with, but it felt like the downtime in a Helldivers movie, or in a Helldivers book. Yes, there are books. They are not related to the games, I don't think, but I think they are basically the same thing. But I listened to like the first 2 or 3 of those books, and that is exactly the setting, and like the tone is just like a bunch of dudes emotionally repressed, not acknowledging it, and they got a threat they got to deal with. And actually, since I was talking about video games, Halo 1, dude, to watch Aliens after playing Halo 1 is it's hilarious, because not very little originality seems to have gone into Halo. From Ripley being woken up in a frozen tube, to the characters, to the fact that there's literally a guy in that is in both Aliens and Halo. I don't remember his character's name in either. I think in Halo he's like Captain Anderson or something like that. It's the black guy. You know, he's the most famous black man voice in video games. And it probably stems from the fact that he was in Aliens. I bet it comes all the way back to that. That's me not looking at his filmography. I bet there's other soldier roles he's played in the past that have gotten him placed into Aliens as a typecast, but Halo is Aliens. The interior of the ships look the same. The like I said, the structure of it is the same. Is there a final boss in Halo? Huh. Is there not a... No, yeah, it's just a really hard level, right? That's just... Halo never had, like, a final boss. It had, like, a map you had to get to the other side of, or figure out your way through. Stupid. Wandering around that game aimlessly. But, yeah, I think that's... I don't want to... I would love to get more into it, but I have to stop soon. So I'm going to say I don't want to get into it anymore and conclude my Aliens talk. And just know... Oh, yeah, I didn't finish my statement about that. I put all the blame on Aliens, that I don't like Aliens specifically. But I never talk about the sequels after it. And they also might be action-y. I'll have to get to them. I'm pretty sure they go back to horror, at least to an extent, like in a Doom 3 kind of way. But I don't think... What was I saying? Words. Shit. I was saying something. God damn it. Sequels. Sorry. Yeah. Sequels. I put all the blame on Aliens as being the worst entry, when I know that's really not true. I actually don't even ever say it's the worst entry, but I just don't like Aliens so much that I haven't seen the other sequels any more than once, because in order to get to those sequels, I have to watch Aliens, which I don't want to watch. So, although I blame Aliens for being the sequel that makes me not like Alien, or, well, not like the franchise outside of Alien. And keep in mind, I haven't seen Prometheus forward, right? So I haven't seen the Danny McBride Alien movie, and I haven't seen Covenant. Not Covenant. Romulus, sorry. Covenant might be the Danny McBride one. I don't know, man. But they all could be action-y, and I might hate them. I heard Romulus went back to the old school, so I'm excited for that. But to get to that, I need to watch all these other ones. And they may all also be action-y. And I'm prepared to encounter that, but I don't think it's gonna waver my opinion on Aliens itself, which is important. And lastly, I have to go, so I'm not going to talk about it long. Besides, what is there to talk about? I watched Finding Nemo. My partner was not in the best mood, and streaming wasn't working, so I couldn't put on... I think I tried to watch Emperor's New Groove, but it wasn't loading, so I busted out the old DVD, and we watched some Finding Nemo. Then they walked in for the first scene and went, "I said lighthearted. This has a murder in the first 10 minutes." Which it does, but, you know, when you work through the murder, on the other side is touching agoraphobia and the prejudice of strangers. And a heartwarming story about a boy who convinces her dad that they're ready to be, you know, a self-sufficient being. You know, I think Nemo's great. You know, I used to say for a short span of time that Dory was just as good. Like Finding Dory, the sequel. The pre-sequel. But I'm so tired of that movie. And I can still watch Finding Nemo and find it goofy and silly, and it really goes down to the cast, because like Ellen is fine, you know, I go back and forth on if I care or not, but Albert Brooks is so fucking funny, and yeah, he's in Finding Dory as well, but he's not the main character. So yeah, that's Finding Nemo. I would love to say I could probably pull another 15 minutes out of Finding Nemo if I really wanted to, because I did have a thing about like Australians and the shark scene that I could have spoken about, but you can just read my review on that. Honestly, it doesn't go that deep there either, but kind of explains what I'm thinking. But that's the week. That's last week. We are caught up, and that's good. Watch, I'm gonna completely change my mind, and next week I'm gonna be like, nope, I'm doing themes now, or I'm just picking stuff. I'm not, now that I'm caught up. But maybe I'll try and keep it going. Maybe I'll do one episode of what I've been watching for the week, and then I can do another episode of something else. I keep almost saying, like, you should let me know and tell me, but I don't really have any way of you doing that. I technically have an email, but it's not specifically for this podcast. And, I have an Instagram, anything but Ted, just like my YouTube channel. Those are probably the two only places that you can, like, comment on things and DM me on Instagram, but, like, yeah, unless I decide to get an email or something, you can't tell me shit. And I also have nothing to talk about at the end, so, I don't know. I posted my link for my letterbox in the description. I guess I'll do my Instagram too, since I brought it up, and, it's all kind of interconnected as the same thing, also known as me, I have a year's worth of, like, 1,000 YouTube videos of me playing video games under the same name, so, me. Me.